Batch 1, Opening Plus. First 3 forgotten features. Narrator, cinematic, warm yet urgent tone. In an age of concrete jungles and suburban sprawl, America has drifted away from the gardens that once defined beauty, community, and peace. Today, we step back in time to rediscover 15 classic garden features America has forgotten and desperately needs again. These weren't just plants and pathways. They were living works of art, built to inspire the soul and ground us in nature. Visuals. Slow drone shot of modern suburbs dissolving into grand historic gardens of the past. Fountains, arches, and sweeping hedges bathed in golden light. Feature 1. The Grand Garden Archway. Narrator. The first forgotten feature is the Grand Garden Archway. Once a hallmark of American estates, these sweeping arches framed entryways and guided guests into lush sanctuaries. They were not merely decoration, they symbolized passage into another world. Covered in climbing roses, ivy, or wisteria, each step beneath an arch promised discovery, romance, and memory. Visuals. A slow-motion shot of ivy climbing a weathered stone arch, morning light streaming through it. Narrator, reflective. Today, we build fences and gates, but once we built dreams in the form of archways. Imagine neighborhoods reborn with such timeless beauty. Feature 2, Reflecting Pools. Narrator. Second, the reflecting pool. Across Europe and early America, still water served as a mirror of heaven. At Mount Vernon, Monticello, and countless estates, pools reflected the sky, the trees, and the spirit of the visitor. These spaces invited silence, meditation, and awe. Visuals. Water rippling gently, a reflection of clouds across a rectangular stone pool. Narrator. In our rush toward efficiency, we have forgotten the sacredness of reflection. These pools asked us to slow down, to look inward as well as outward. Feature 3. Garden Pavilions and Summer Houses. Narrator, inviting tone. Third, the pavilion or summer house. Once, nearly every grand garden had one, a small temple, gazebo, or domed retreat placed among groves. It was here that lovers whispered secrets, families rested, and poets found words. In the 18th and 19th centuries, these structures dotted estates, painted in brilliant white, set upon hills or overlooking water. Visuals. Sunlight breaking through a latticework pavilion, laughter echoing faintly as shadows fall across its floor. Narrator. Today's backyards may have decks and sheds, but few carry the poetry of these summer houses. They were meant for wonder, not storage, for reflection, not clutter. Closing of Batch 1. Narrator, crescendo, cinematic. The archway, the pool, the summer house. 3 features that spoke not just of wealth, but of philosophy. They were built to remind us that gardens are not merely for utility, but for the spirit. And yet they are only the beginning. Ahead lie grottos, labyrinths, sundials, and more. Features America once cherished and must now remember. Visuals. A time-lapse of flowers blooming over ruins of old garden structures, symbolizing rebirth. Batch 2, features 4, 5, 6. Narrator, rich, steady tone. In the last chapter, we walked through archways, gazed into reflecting pools, and rested in summer houses, but America's forgotten gardens held even deeper treasures. Let us journey into the next 3, monuments to mystery, time, and play. Feature 4. The Garden Labyrinth. Narrator, mysterious, cinematic. Fourth, the labyrinth. Unlike a maze which seeks to confuse, a labyrinth is a single winding path, an ancient design used for meditation and spiritual reflection. In the 18th century, wealthy estates in America and Europe built hedge labyrinths where guests strolled slowly, their footsteps echoing with silence and purpose. Visuals: overhead shot of a green labyrinth, sunlight moving across its walls. Narrator: children delighted in chasing each other through the curves, while adults found peace in its deliberate turns. Today, our playgrounds are made of plastic and concrete. Imagine instead a living labyrinth of green, a place for wonder and mindfulness in every town. Feature 5. The Garden Sundial. Narrator: reflective, symbolic. 5th, the sundial, an ancient timekeeper placed in the heart of a garden. Long before wristwatches and phones, these elegant stone markers told not only the hour, but the philosophy of time itself. In colonial America, sundials were engraved with mottos: "Make time, save time, while time lasts." Visuals: a brass sundial casting a shadow across numbers as the sun shifts slowly overhead. Narrator: the sundial reminded every visitor that time is fleeting, and that a moment in the garden is never wasted. Replacing digital screens with the shadow of the sun, it was more than practical. It was poetic. Today, such a feature could root us again in the rhythm of nature. Feature 6. The Orangery. Narrator: excited, cinematic grandeur. 6th, the Orangery. This forgotten jewel was once the pride of Mount Vernon, Monticello, and estates across the Atlantic. A glass house or brick structure filled with orange trees, lemons, and exotic fruits, even in the dead of winter. For Washington and Jefferson, the Orangery was not just about fruit, but about progress, elegance, and mastery over the seasons. Visuals: soft light through greenhouse glass, rows of citrus trees glowing with golden fruit. Narrator: visitors marveled at the scent of blossoms while snow lay outside. The Orangery was both science and spectacle, a demonstration that beauty and innovation belong together. Today, when we import our fruit without thought, we forget the wonder of cultivating the impossible right in our gardens. Closing of Batch 2. Narrator: rising tone, inspiring. The labyrinth, the sundial, the orangery, each a symbol of balance between mystery and clarity, time and eternity, utility and beauty. They were not excess, but wisdom carved into the earth. America has paved over many of these treasures, yet their memory lingers. And ahead, more await: the grotto, the alley, and the whispering fountains of the past. Visuals: shadows of hedges dissolve into bright light reflecting off fountains. Batch 3, features 7, 8, 9. Narrator: calm, cinematic. So far, we've wandered through arches, pools, pavilions, labyrinths, sundials, and even the glassy orangeries of the past. Yet the gardens of old America held more secrets still. They were not only about plants, but about mood, mystery, and memory. Let's uncover 3 more features long forgotten. Feature 7. The Garden Grotto. Narrator: mysterious tone. 7th, the Garden Grotto. These shaded stone chambers, often decorated with shells, minerals, or carved fountains, were popular in 18th century Europe and early America. George Washington himself built a grotto at Mount Vernon, a cool retreat from the summer heat. Guests stepped inside and felt they had entered another realm. Half cave, half temple. Visuals: a dimly lit stone grotto, water trickling over moss, candles glowing softly. Narrator: The grotto was more than decoration. It was an escape, a reminder that nature has depth and hidden worlds. In our modern parks of straight lines and mown lawns, the sense of mystery is gone. To restore the grotto is to restore imagination itself. Feature 8. The alley narrator, steady, noble tone. 8th, the allée. A word from the French meaning a walkway lined with trees. These shaded paths, often stretching for hundreds of feet, were designed to create both drama and peace. Walking down an alley was like moving through a living cathedral, where branches arched overhead like vaulted ceilings. Visuals: a tree-lined avenue in autumn, golden leaves drifting down in silence. Narrator: in estates across early America, alleys guided guests from house to garden or from one vista to another. They gave order, perspective, and grace. Today, in place of alleys, we pave highways lined with billboards. How different our cities would feel if tree-lined walkways replaced asphalt. Feature 9. Whispering fountains. Narrator: gentle poetic. 9th, the fountain. Not the roaring jets of Vegas, but the whispering fountains of the past. Small, trickling springs set into courtyards or shaded corners. Their purpose was not spectacle, but serenity. In the 19th century, such fountains cooled the air, soothed the ear, and reminded visitors of life's constant flow. Visuals: close-up of water dripping gently from a carved stone fountain into a pool of lilies. Narrator: in America's early gardens, fountains were modest, yet profound. A single sound of falling water could turn an ordinary space into a sanctuary. Imagine for a moment neighborhoods where every block held not the hum of air conditioners, but the murmur of a fountain. Closing of Batch 3. Narrator: cinematic crescendo. The grotto, the alley, the whispering fountain, each of these was a gift to the senses. They engaged not only the eye, but the body, the ear, the soul. They turned gardens into experiences, into journeys. And while most have vanished, their lessons remain, waiting to be reborn. Visuals: a slow fade from shadowed grotto to a glowing tree-lined walkway to rippling fountain water under the sun. Batch 4. Features 10, 11, 12. Narrator: deep, cinematic. We've passed through arches, alleys, grottos, and fountains. But classic gardens were not only sanctuaries of beauty, they were stages of life, celebration, and memory. Let us rediscover 3 more features that America has quietly abandoned. Feature 10. The Bowling Green narrator. Lively, historic tone. 10th. The Bowling Green. In colonial America, this was not a building, but a great grassy lawn, long, rectangular, and perfectly manicured, where games of lawn bowling and gatherings took place. George Washington had one at Mount Vernon. Families strolled, children played, and guests competed in friendly matches. Visuals: reenactment of 18th century men and women in colonial dress playing lawn bowling. Laughter filling the summer air. Narrator: more than a game, the Bowling Green was about community. It offered wide space for leisure, conversation, and togetherness. Today, backyards are cut into grids of fences. Imagine restoring vast open greens where neighbors could gather, play, and connect. Feature 11. Topiary sculptures. Narrator: curious, playful. 11th. The art of topiary. Trees and hedges shaped into animals, spirals, and symbols. In early American estates, clipped boxwoods became living sculptures. Guests marveled at swans, cones, and arches, all carved from greenery with patience and precision. Visuals: a garden pathway lined with whimsical hedge animals, sunlight gleaming on polished leaves. Narrator: topiary spoke of mastery, human imagination shaping nature into playful forms. Today, lawns are flat and lifeless, trimmed only for utility. But topiary invited whimsy, a reminder that gardens are not only for food or flowers, but for delight. Feature 12: stone benches and garden furniture. Narrator: gentle, reflective. 12th, the stone bench. Placed beneath an oak beside a fountain or overlooking a vista, these benches were invitations to pause. In the 18th and 19th centuries, gardens were designed with seating in mind. Stone chairs, carved seats, and ironwork gazebos where conversation blossomed. Visuals: a moss-covered stone bench by a lily pond, golden light breaking through the trees. Narrator: today we rush through parks with nowhere to linger. But in the past, gardens expected you to stay, to sit, to breathe. The simple act of a bench transformed space into sanctuary, a place where time itself slowed. Closing of Batch 4. Narrator: rising cinematic. The bowling green, the topiary, the garden bench, each reflected not only design but intention. They were built for play, for beauty, for stillness. Gardens once embraced life in every form: movement, laughter, artistry, rest. And though many of these features have faded, they call us back to a truth we cannot ignore: that a garden is not merely a plot of land, but a theater of human joy. Visuals: montage of a bowling green bustling with people, whimsical hedge animals, and a lone bench glowing in sunset. Batch 5 features 13, 14, 15, plus grand closing. Narrator: calm, reflective. We have wandered through 12 forgotten wonders: arches, grottos, alleys, fountains, greens, and benches. Now, let us step into the final 3 features, each a living memory of how Americans once built gardens not just for show but for spirit. Feature 13. The gazebo and summerhouse. Narrator: gentle, inviting. 13th, the gazebo, or summerhouse. A small open pavilion often perched on a hilltop or nestled near water. In colonial times, gazebos were places of poetry, music, and stolen conversations. They provided shade in summer, shelter in rain, and a perfect stage for reflection. Visuals: a wooden gazebo overlooking a river, lanterns glowing softly as evening falls. Narrator: unlike today's utilitarian picnic shelters, these gazebos were crafted with elegance: octagonal roofs, carved railings, and vistas designed to take your breath away. They whispered a lesson we have nearly forgotten: beauty matters, even in simplicity. Feature 14. The herb knot garden. Narrator: historical, textured. 14th, the herb knot garden. Originating in Europe and carried to America, these were intricate designs made from low hedges of rosemary, thyme, and lavender, woven into geometric patterns. At the center stood medicinal plants: sage, mint, chamomile, used not only for cooking, but for healing. Visuals: an overhead view of a symmetrical knot garden, herbs swaying in the wind. Narrator: in an era before modern medicine, these gardens were lifelines. They taught self-sufficiency, beauty, and order. Today, we've replaced them with sterile supermarket aisles. But imagine if every home, every school, rebuilt knot gardens, living classrooms of history, health, and fragrance. Feature 15. The garden obelisk and classical statues. Narrator: majestic, cinematic. 15th, The garden obelisk and statue. Inspired by Rome, Egypt, and Greece, early Americans adorned their gardens with stone symbols, columns, sundials, and mythological figures. Mount Vernon held busts of ancient leaders, reminders that gardens were also places of philosophy and memory. Visuals. A tall obelisk rising in a manicured garden, sunlight glinting across carved marble figures. Narrator. These statues connected the present to the past. They told visitors, gardens are not only for flowers but for ideas. Today's lawns, stripped of symbolism, feel empty. To restore them with art would restore meaning. Grand closing, cinematic build. Narrator, rising with passion. 15 features once common, now forgotten. Arches, pools, pavilions, labyrinths, sundials, orangeries, grottos, alleys, fountains, bowling greens, topiary, benches, gazebos, herb knots, and statues. Each one was more than decoration, it was memory. Together they transformed the American garden into a world of wonder. Visuals. Montage of all 15 features fading in and out like a dream sequence, birdsong and water flowing. Narrator. Soft final words. And perhaps if we bring them back, not as replicas but as living traditions, we may recover something America has lost. The power of gardens to heal, to unite, to inspire. The garden was never just a place, it was a promise, and it still waits for us and to remember. Visuals. Slow fade to black. Final shot. Morning light breaking over a restored classical garden. Dew sparkling on the grass. End of batch 5.